Hello, hello. My name is Christy Bakelar with Keystone Oasis Academy, and I am so excited to share with you one of my favorite books today and how we can use read alouds with our kids to get them really excited about books, about reading, learning, imagination, but then also how do we use a book, use literature, use read alouds, use picture books to incorporate STEM elements and the engineering and design process. So I'm going to take you through a read aloud today and kind of the thought process that I use with my students in the classroom, but then how we can use the themes and the details from the book itself to create a really fun and engaging STEM project for our kids. So our book today is called What to Do with a Box by Jane Yolen. And I really enjoy this book because it is simple, it is so engaging and relevant for our kids. This one particularly is written for a younger student, but even as a fifth grade teacher, I would use younger books all the time with some of my students because it was very easy for them to relate, and especially if I'm doing something like a STEM project afterwards. Sometimes an easier book that doesn't carry really extravagant details or heavy vocabulary is just much better to work with, much easier to work with. So when I do a read aloud, if I have the time and the ability, I always encourage my students to read it through first, to enjoy it, to get the gist, and then we'll start working with it after. So I'm actually going to do that with you now. I'm going to read it through, kind of show you how to use your intonation and your excitement to build that excitement into the story that you're reading and to build the fun with your kids. So What to Do with a Box by Jane Yolen. I really like the artwork in this story too. A box. A box is a strange device. You can open it once. You can open it twice. You can climb inside and there read a book. It can be a library, palace, or nook. You can lock the door with a magical key. Invite your dolls to come in for tea. You can paint a landscape with sun, sand, and sky. Or crayon an egret that's flying right by. Or paint a blue river and very green trees. You can borrow a fan just to make a small breeze. You can drive in that box all around a dirt track. You can sail in that box off to parts and back. A box! A box is a wonder indeed, the only such magic that you'll ever need. So come for a visit right now, right this day. I've got a grand box, just so we two can play. In the end. Now, right after I finish a read aloud with my students, I like to connect to my students first. I want them to feel like they are represented by their story, connected to their story, and feel something about their story. So the very first thing that I would do after finishing a book like this is, what did you think? Did you like it? What did you like about the book? And sometimes I would even have them go back into the story and show me something that they really enjoyed. Like, maybe when they made it into a palace or when they drew a bird on the box. So the very first thing I would ask is, how do you feel about this book? And then I might ask some really simple comprehension, like what happened in this book? What can we learn because of this book? I might bring back to a specific page and say, for example, really early in the beginning, you can climb inside and there read a book. It can be a library. Like, did the box just turn into a library? And of course they would say no, and hopefully get to that idea of you can use your imagination and turn that box into anything that you could possibly dream of, like a palace or a nook or a car or a boat or any of those amazing things. One page I was really excited about was this one here. Now, as an educator, when I read this for the first time, I thought about it as like an egret. That's not a word that many of my students would be familiar with, but I love what the author did here because she knew that the students or the kids that were reading this book also would not know what an egret was. So what did she do on this page to help our kids garner that understanding and use context to understand that word? Well, there's a real egret, right? There's a drawing of an egret, and then there's a context clue that's flying right by. So we know it's something that can fly. So using the textual clues and the pictorial clues both together, our kids would be able to figure out very easily that an egret is just, well, a bird. And but you can ask those questions of your child as well. So if you point to this word egret and say, what is an egret? And maybe at first they might say, I don't know. Be like, well, what's on the page? What do you see? What do you think an egret is? And they would hopefully point to the bird here. They might point to the bird here. And then they might even point to, well, the fact that it's flying. You could extend that a little bit further and say, well, what else can an egret do? Using their background knowledge about birds, they'd be like, well, maybe they make a nest, maybe they lay eggs, maybe they eat worms, any of those things. And then that gives them a greater understanding of this one word in context, okay? So those are some ways that you can incorporate those that read aloud and very simple comprehension questions that really connect your child to the book that you're reading. If you wanted to extend this into the writing realm, there's a couple great ideas that you could do. Simply, what would you do with a box? And they can write and illustrate like some of the things that they might want to do. I think of cats, right? Or if a cat, if they find a box, they want to sit in the box, they want to play with the box and hide in the box, right? So for a kid, that could be another really great option is what would a cat do with a box? Or perhaps the squirrel that eats out of the bird feeder in the backyard. You could ask your child those kinds of questions and they might write their own story. What would a cat do with a box? And they could illustrate it just like this. So those are some really easy writing connections, just using the details and themes of the book that I've chosen. But then, of course, how do we incorporate the engineer and design process with a book like this? So I want to take that same route where I'm using the details and the themes of the book that I've chosen, and then I want to design a simple project that my kids can complete with very little direction from me, okay? Where I can facilitate the natural learning process, but I don't have to tell my kids what exactly to do. So this book is really easy because I have my first step of the engineering and design process, which is to ask a question. I already have it in the title of my book, What to Do with a Box. So I would ask my kids, what would you do with a box? And then I would have a box at the ready. If you don't have a box already at home, you can pick one up at Walmart for just a couple dollars, like those large packing boxes in the office section. Okay, so you get one of those boxes, you have it at the ready. I would collect recyclable materials like paper towel rolls, paper plates, newspaper, old boxes, shoe boxes, those kinds of things that are hanging around. And of course, plenty of art supplies, okay? I would have them out at the ready. And I would have your kids look at these supplies, maybe even handle some of these supplies, and have them create a plan. What would I do with these supplies to do something with a box, right? What can I manipulate with these materials and do something with a box? So something really important to remember as a parent is you want to let them explore as much as possible, right? You want them to problem solve. You might want them to draw out their plan, maybe verbally explain their plan out to you. But what you don't want to do is say, let's say they wanted to turn their box into a race car. You would not want to say you can use plates as wheels. What you would want to do instead is challenge your child's thinking. What can you use as wheels? And you can certainly help scaffold for your children, especially younger children, and have things like plates, like cardboard that they can cut, and have those things out to help like boost their imagination. But you don't want to suggest, for example, a plate. Let them discover that on their own. Let them fail. Maybe they'll choose a material that won't work well for what they're imagining. But and then let them explore with all of those supplies. You might even suggest, have you checked the kitchen yet? And push them in a general direction. But what you don't want to do is say you should use a plate. Okay, let that natural imagination take over. And so after that planning phase, then let them go at it. Let their imagination go wild. What could they do with their supplies? How can they take their plan, right, their drawing or their verbal representation, and turn that into a product of some sort? Something like creating a race car out of a box is I mean, that they could be entertained for hours. Do all the crazy things that they could come up with, right? And then our last step of the engineering and design process is a reflection and improvement. So let's take that race car example. When they feel like they've finished, they've designed their car, they can test it. You know, can it move? If you sit inside of it, does it feel like a race car? What can you do inside? How can you play with it? Those kinds of things. And then you might ask, like, what went really well? What did you do that you really liked about your race car? And then, well, if you can make it better, what would you do? And you could even go back in the engineering and design process and have them do that. If they think there's something that they can do to improve upon it, you want to take advantage of that, reverse yourself in the process and go through it again. Okay, I really hope you enjoyed What to Do with a Box by Jane Yolen. I will have other read alouds in the future on how we can incorporate those STEM and engineering and design process ideas with really, really great picture books. Thanks for tuning in today, everybody. Hope you have a good one.